Hello and welcome, everyone. We're here today at Florida Closing and Escrow. We're located in Sunny Isles. We have a five-star rating. We're mobile, multilingual, and have expert attorneys to assist you from contract to closing. Florida Closing and Escrow, and I'm Cindy Mirapole. I'm the marketing liaison, and we have excellent marketing tools to assist you as well. Targeted AI, digital, bow live for your opens, and more. Today, John Iowano, the owner, will be speaking on condo law updates and I believe also the commission updates. So welcome, and if you need to reach me, my number is 786-457-6832. So John, welcome.
Hello everyone here. Hello everyone here. Welcome to the presentation. Today we're going to talk about new forms that NAR has released. Everyone remember the National Association of Realtors lawsuits that happened last year, where there was an antitrust lawsuit. NAR lost, 1.78 billion was awarded. They entered into a settlement agreement for 418 million or so. And part of the settlement was that they're going to remove offers of compensation on the MLS, right? Those are the two things. Offers of compensation are going to be removed from the MLS, and the buyer's going to need a buyer written representation agreement. So what we have today is forms that address issue number one, where the MLS is going to remove offers of compensation. So now what happens? So come August 17th, that is the day that all of this is going to happen, August 17th. So about a month away, we're going to have to use these forms. There's two forms that I've handed out. One of them says compensation agreement seller to buyer's broker. The other says compensation agreement seller's broker to buyer's broker. Okay.
I need
Hey, that was
that
nice.
one. I need that one, please.
Okay, so yeah, here's the seller broker one. They're very similar. They almost look identical. It's just a signature. Okay, there's something going around again. And people on the internet, Cindy can send it to you, or you can email her or text her, and she'll send you copies of that. So it says at the top, seller's broker and seller. Okay. So this is what's gonna happen, beginning August 17th, right? Yeah, Cindy, you can lower the hair a little bit. That is all. August 17th, you're gonna see a listing on the MLS. It's gonna have a property that you might have a buyer interested in. There's not gonna be any offers of compensation there. So how do you know what you're gonna get paid at time of closing? You have to call and ask the listing agent, what's the offer of compensation on unit 1203 at the Porsche? First, you're gonna say, hi, I'm a realtor. I represent a buyer who's interested in unit 1201. Is the unit available, right? It's kind of what you guys usually say. And they say, yes, it's available. And then I guess you'll ask for showing times and you'll work that out. And then you're gonna have to ask, what's the offer of compensation? And then they're gonna either say 3%, 2%, 1%, 0%, right? That's the world we're in now. You have to ask, and the listing agent has to tell you. Now, the listing agent is going to know that because they're going to have to enter into a listing agreement with their seller, right? So when they first get the client, they're going to talk about the property and they're going to talk about offers of compensation. The seller's going to decide what offer of compensation he or she wants to give to both agents, 6%, 5%, and whatnot. That needs to go into a listing agreement. Revisions to the listing agreement are also coming out, but they're not out yet. So when they do come out, we'll have another one of these, and I'll update you on that. So the listing agreement says, let's say 3%. You're going to ask the listing agent, what's the offer of compensation? They're going to say 3%. Your next question is going to be, is it coming from the broker or is it coming from the seller? And then when they say seller or broker, Then you're gonna fill out one of these forms and you're gonna send it to the listing agent before you send the contract.
Before send the contract?
Right.
Okay.
Because what you're doing is you're cementing or guaranteeing your commission at the beginning. If you send a contract, seller signs it, buyer signs it, you don't have one of these?
Forget it. There is your commission.
Yeah, okay, so maybe you called and the listing agent said, yeah, 3%, and then come to closing, the listing agent says, oh, actually, I made a mistake. It's 0.
Yeah.
You're not getting anything. There's nothing out there that says
I
you're gonna
have
get
a
it.
question for you.
Sometimes even now,
Yes,
we put, for example, 2%, 25%, but we're taking 3-4%, for example. So what if we ask listing agent how much you're getting, and they tell us 2%, 2.5, or 3%, 5%, whatever, but it's not correct.
We can put anything right now.
well, that's unethical, it's against the associate realtor rules, and
Right now, we have 2%, but at the end of the closing, I see that she got 3%.
right, because the MLS offers of compensation are only for buyer agents. It doesn't talk about listing agent
So with
compensation.
this new establishment right now that we're gonna have, it's the same, or we have to?
You're not gonna know the listing
We never
agents.
know. So whatever they tell us, this is it.
So part of the negotiation can be if they're saying, well, we're offering 2%. Well, we're gonna give you a full price offer and we want 3%. So everything is still negotiable.
So it can possibly be, they say 1% and you send them a contract, if you don't sign for 3, I'm not sending you a contract.
I caution against that because I think that would be unethical to do because you're not really representing your client's best interest, you're representing your best interest. So I would avoid that.
Question.
What you can say is they're saying, if they say 2.5, or 3%, you can say, can we negotiate that? Is that negotiable? And work that way without saying it's contingent on the offer. So leave that part out and try and negotiate the commission. Another point, which is good that was brought up, remember, or sometimes some agents put on the contract next to your name, broker name, dash 3%, 2.5%. You can't do that. You never could do that, and you still can't do that. So that's why this form is very important. We have to have this form. Without this form, you're not guaranteed your commission. On the contract? No.
No.
The contract is between buyer and seller, right? It's not between brokers. So it was never able to work, and it will never work. So don't bother putting it on there.
Mhm.
Is that understood?
But that's my commission, but if my broker, I don't put next to my name on contract, I put it next to the broker's name.
No.
Yeah. That's okay?
No, the contract as it is written now, which, okay, stop going backwards, we're going forwards. But backwards, the MLS controls. It's whatever is on the MLS is what dictates your commission, regardless of what you put on the contract. Moving forward, there is not gonna be an MLS. So that's where this form comes into play. Okay?
Before submitting the offer.
Before sending the offer, so let's maybe do a little bit of role play. Who wants to be the listing agent? Okay, Fernando. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Good. You look great today. Guys, snooze them up, right? That's how you guys do.
I'm not giving an extra point for that.
Your listing is amazing. The photos are awesome. I have a buyer interested in your unit. Is it available for sale?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. What are the showing, what do you guys say? What are the showing, and what are the showing
This
instructions?
is our qualified buyer, we're ready to show anything.
Okay, awesome. What's the offer of compensation?
3%.
Great,
It's a bonus of $10,000.
awesome. I'll send you over a compensation agreement. Please sign it, send it back, and we'll send over the offer.
Sure.
Oh.
Okay.
Supposed to ask if it's coming out from the seller or seller from.
Okay,
So I
good
think
point.
it's this one, the compensation agreement, seller's broker to buyer's broker.
Right, okay, good. So, sorry, my next question, when you said 3%,
Mhm.
my next question is, who's paying it, the broker or the seller?
We're back.
The broker. Okay, awesome, great.
That's
I'll
Hey, Mark,
email,
Please go to the docs section on the MLS. There's a blank form ready for you to sign.
oh, okay, you have,
Signed by me already.
okay.
It's better.
That's good too.
When they say 3%, it's 3% for you or three
Offer of compensation.
for you?
If you want to be super clear, you can say offer of compensation to the buyers.
MLS and the attachment, we can sign the agreement that we are paying to the buyer's broker.
No, no offers of compensation can be put on the MLS.
No.
Yeah, he just said he was gonna put it on your document.
Under where? Under your website or on the MLS? Yes, no.
Is it you want to punish me?
I would say you can go to my website because no offers of compensation are allowed anywhere on the MLS. You can't put it in the broker remarks or anything like that, but
Like
what
a
you
link, can I put a link to the documents?
You can put a link to your website, which can have offers of compensation, but it cannot be on,
Link to the
The
document.
website, okay.
you can put in the broker's remark, you
So
can put it,
signed offer, okay.
It's true that I heard that you can put it like, for example, advertise in Facebook or something like that. It's illegal to advertise the commission too.
no, you can advertise your own listings. And you can put your offers of compensation for your own listings. You cannot put offers of compensation for other people's
No,
listings.
this is
Yes,
understandable, you cannot put it as an attachment on the MLS.
right.
Because I don't wanna sign a commission agreement every time an agent calls me to show the property.
Not to
This is
show
fair.
when they send the contract. To show, you don't need it to when before you.
But
send
you
the
don't wanna
contract.
show the property if you don't know if you're gonna get paid or not. You wanna waste your time? Before I show the property, I wanna make sure that I'm being paid for it. What if you show the property, your client likes it, and then you get it zero?
Exactly.
Buy it, he's talking about the seller.
No.
No, that's a good
listen,
point.
It's a good point, right?
So what I'm saying, and my question to you is, I'm a broker, I was just telling, I'm a broker in New York, none of the buyers are signing. Like, nobody's signing any forms, it's complicated, it's really hard. They don't wanna sign, they don't wanna be responsible, and they're scared, okay? So my question to you is, in the broker's remarks, you're saying, we can refer to the website.
Refer to website, yes.
Please, let me talk. In the broker's remark, we are saying that please refer, please look at my website. We put a reference to the website. Can I say, please look at, please, for any additional information, please see my website? When I say information and compensation and broker's agreement, can I even mention the compensation?
I wouldn't, but everyone's gonna know that's what that is. You can,
People are gonna call me and say, how about my compensation?
okay, you can say, go to my website, or you can just tell them. You can tell them by phone, you can tell them by text, and you can tell them by email and website.
They're going to be proof, like email is gonna consider as a proof?
No, that's when you present this form. This form is gonna be
For
signed.
example, I don't know if we're going back to say broker.website, go to whatever.
Complicated, but we can get through this, right? Don't overthink it. Yeah, we can do this.
What about if I put seller on record, seller? The other one is put seller.
So let's go to the form. So we're gonna look at compensation agreements, seller broker to buyer's broker. And just note that this is signed by the brokers or authorized associate. So that means you guys can sign it as well if you're authorized by your broker. So
When you decide to share your commission.
for the listing agreements, yeah, whatever's on the listing
Because
agreement.
that's my confusion with the two forms.
Yo también.
So the difference between the two forms is the second form is seller to buyer's broker, right? When would this come up?
When they
For
want to-
sale by owners, if the listing agent is a relative, they're not getting any commission, they don't have a listing agreement. If there's, these companies, $500, they'll list your property, but they're not getting any compensation, so there's nothing to share. So that's when you use
I
form
call
number
the seller, it says, call the seller, bro. I call the seller. I started it this weekend in a test drive.
Uh-huh,
So it was offering 1% buyer.
uh-huh.
So I call the seller, listen, I can show you property, it fits my client, only if you pay me 3% in a separate agreement, in a commission agreement. Yeah, you worms, blah, blah, blah. All of insults.
John,
Uh-huh.
Thank you, no deal, bye.
Oh, okay. That was good. You asked him. I would say, don't say no deal, because again, you're not acting in the best interest of the buyer. So you can say, okay, I'll speak to my buyer about it and we'll get back to you, and then maybe don't call.
Yeah, good.
Careful what you say, because you know how it was that Section 8 lawsuits that were out, people were calling, lawyers were calling, hey, do you accept Section 8? You would say no, and then you'd get a letter saying, we're suing you because you're discriminating against. Careful here again, there's gonna be trollers, there's gonna be people out there asking you, are you requiring 3% or 6%? Just be very careful about what you say. Always,
How do you handle it?
You
How do you handle it?
they don't get back to you to find out who you were.
Section 8.
Section 8, you have to say yes, but you have to say it's up to the association. Yes, this landlord accepts Section 8, it depends on the association. And now you've deflected, it's not
Wait,
there.
there's no association.
Well, then you have to accept Section 8, because you can't discriminate against underprivileged
But
people.
section 8 have terms where you need a property to be to certain codes.
Sure.
And if the property is not, you
Okay.
need to pay for your own inspection, number one, and number two, if it's not up to code, you actually don't accept section 8 because your property is not up.
No, you can say yes, but if the property may not qualify, because it has this and this.
Yes.
And you can.
So always,
And the
It's
owner
very
can,
difficult
it's
to.
very different, but don't say no to Section 8 if you just want to.
we can say no, but the landlord can say, no, we can say yes, but the landlord can say no, correct?
No,
So
Not
me
even
as a
Section
owner,
8.
I'm enforced to allow
Sí.
Section 8 in my house?
yes.
Why would you not?
Oh, okay.
It's money coming from the government, it's from
Uh-huh.
a person who maybe doesn't have as much money or doesn't have a job that pays.
It has pros and cons.
It
It
depends
depends.
because they destroy the.
Yeah, very quick question about the seller to the buyer's broker.
Okay,
Like you said, it's a flat fee, understandable if somebody listing it, they're paying the flat fee, it's okay.
right.
But what if it's, for sale by owner? And the owner is saying, oh, I'm not giving you an exclusive, I'm just giving a commission agreement to any broker who sells. Whoever sells. At what point do you give it to the owner for sale by owner?
If
you're
you
not-
represent the buyer,
If you, before, because I wanna make sure I'm protected,
right?
and I wanna bring this before I sell the property.
Yes,
Before I
as,
show the property, I'm sorry.
as a buyer's agent,
It's a buyer's agent.
yes.
So, but this is just a compensation agreement. When does it say that in case, because I know what the owner is gonna say, oh, I ask X, Y, and Z also to show and sell. I ask multiple brokers. How do I get protected over this? He said, I don't wanna give it to you if I sell through a different broker.
If you're representing the buyer's broker,
Yeah,
okay. You fill out this form with your buyer and you put the name of the buyer under number 3, and then you're protected.
okay.
And the number 3,
Right,
the buyer is.
buyer's name. So obviously, let's go, number 1, the broker's name, you put your name and you put the broker's name, if we're doing broker.
Can I ask you, I'm sorry to go back.
Uh-huh,
Let's say, it happened to me before, the buyer signed with me, but then he bought under LLC.
Uh-huh.
It's a feeling, it's successful or signing.
Yes, I do. So I just gonna keep an eye on this property and see
No,
after
no,
it's
no.
sold.
Or
Who's the owner of that LLC?
yeah.
Okay, no,
no,
it should say the name of the buyer
I'm
or
gonna
the
say, I
association.
don't wanna know the name of the buyer. I prefer you tell me buyer or portfolio, that's it, any.
Yeah, it's optional if you have someone who doesn't want, or the good thing about it, if you do put the buyer's name, is there won't be any disagreements regarding procuring costs, right? If someone says, well, you didn't bring this buyer, well, you're gonna show them, well, actually, I did. There's my name, there's the buyer's name, and it's dated by you. So putting the buyer's name will, the good thing about it, will alleviate all procuring cause complaints.
Probably disagreements. All good.
It's okay, but I don't wanna go there, because this is it. This is, we're not changing this. This is from now.
That is the.
Put buyer, like she says.
Okay.
It happened to me as well. I'm a broker for over 20 years. This-
Okay,
I put a buyer, I can even put John Doe and any association with this name. like she said, Russian people are very creative. And everybody else.
Latin people too, and everybody else.
People.
And everybody else. So we put on the LLC and they have this transaction done by the family member.
And or
Okay.
sign.
And on time, right, even if we put it, right? And but the commission agreement directs the seller to pay. So if we.
Wait, the
find out
commission
that-
agreement, which commission agreement?
Yeah, which one you got?
Compensation agreement, seller.
Okay.
Buyer agent,
Okay,
okay? So,
That one.
so if we find out after closing, what she said, we might not know that he went and he purchased with somebody else. I can open LLC in 5 minutes. Okay? And we find out after. We come back to this, that's what happened to me, I'm telling you, we come back to the seller, say, oh, you know what? You owe us a compensation, we signed an agreement with you, you see, you signed, I signed, that signed. And he's gonna say, you know, I already paid the XYZ realtor. I did not know, I received, she called me, I received the contract in the name of the corporation, she gave me full asking price, you know, and I agreed with the price, and signed the contract, we closed in 20 days. I already paid. So I had an agreement in New York.
that
where-
happens, yes, it's
where
unfortunate.
The buyer was responsible if we find out that was, you know, he purchased the house, we had a show slip, and the buyer's agreement where the buyer had to pay to, you know, to cover damages if the vendor paid.
Can we ask for a
It's unfortunate.
can we ask copy of the listing agreement or something?
You can, there's no obligation for the listing agent to give it.
No,
They don't have to disclose.
You just will find out at the end, right? When
Find
they
out.
have that.
Yeah, they closing.
And also, technically, if they get 6%, they can give you like 1.
That's all.
Up to the
Whatever the
broker, right?
budget.
So, that's a good question. So on the listing agreement, if it says 6%, you know how you just fill it out, 6%, and there's another section that says offer compensation to buyer, you put 3, 3, and 3.
Yeah.
If it says 3 and you tell them it's 1,
that's indifferent.
you're committing fraud. Because you have an agreement with the seller to give 3% and you're only offering 1. So you can get in a lot of trouble for
But
that.
there's no
That's unethical.
disclosure between their seller's broker to the buyer's broker, right? So it's not their mandatory, they don't have to disclose so much.
What happened?
They don't have to disclose it.
So fraud is on their risk, right? So.
It's- you lose your
What
license.
happened is from here until there, nothing is, nothing is, you have to be sure that you have
Listing
to
agreement?
give the disclosure.
You can ask, they don't have to give.
If I think it's not fair for me to get 1 or 2%, and then at the closing I found out, or right before closing, the seller is giving 3% to the buyer's agent.
Variable commission is legal.
Why can't they disclose?
Variable commission is legal and it's on the MLS. Plus, I can give you 2% and make it 4 or whatever, 1% and make it 5.
No, but that's not what he's saying, whatever is
You
listed
can
on
do
the
that, what he said, yes, you can receive 4 and you can give someone else 2.
It's not Russia, America.
But
Why is it not right? Not in the seller, so it's not to know like what's going on.
I want to work with you.
But the listing agreement, if it says 3 and 3, you have to give 3.
After 40 years.
Yo no quiero trabajar.
The comment was not appropriate, listen,
This
what I'm
America.
telling you, it's
It's
not.
going to be difficult
All right,
working
let's focus on the document here.
Disclosed, that's what we're saying.
No, amigo,
What has to be disclosed?
The listing agreement, if they ask for the attorney to see a copy of the listing agreement, they can disclose right after the contract was executed, correct?
No, the listing agreement does not need to be provided, but you can ask, if someone says we're offering 2%, you can ask the listing agent, okay, what are you getting? Are you also getting 2%? Are you getting 2.5%?
Nobody's going to
If
take you.
they say, I'm not gonna disclose it to you, then you can say, well, then you can decide, well, if you wanna negotiate your 2 up to 2.5 or 3.
Yeah, you can always ask for more.
If they say, no, I'm getting 3 or I'm getting 2 and you're getting 2, then you don't have an issue, so.
And nobody's going to control that because the people start to say, start to lie. For example, I
Well,
can
if you
say,
lie, then you're being unethical, and if you're found out, you can lose your license.
I know,
Be careful.
because, no, I know.
All right, let's get back to the form, people.
I have a question, in closing, the name of the name of the buyer should take the risk that they know each other and then they eliminated you.
Correct, so that's why it says optional. You do not have to put the buyer's name if you're worried about that.
Hmm.
But like I said, if there are issues later that come up about procuring cause, you are protected here because you have the buyer's name. But you'll see under number 5, it says if no buyer is identified in paragraph 3, buyer's broker will be compensated at closing of property if buyer's broker is the procuring cause of the sale of the property, which means you brought the contract and you have the name there and your name was on the contract and seller signs it. So you don't have to put the buyer's name, but it might be beneficial if you do. It's up to you whether you think this buyer knows the seller or whatnot.
Technically, it's going to be a lot of paperwork, right?
So there's gonna be more paperwork.
Every
yes.
time we do any other specific contract, it's all paperwork.
There's gonna be another Form 2 coming out in August, which is the buyer written representation agreements.
Yeah.
That's not out yet. So we'll have another meeting about that one. Right now, all they've released is these documents.
It's already more simplicity.
It's in Form Simplicity. This must be used August 17th. That is the start date.
Not now?
No.
No. You can now, but you don't have to because the MLS controls. Right now, the MLS has offers of compensation, and the rule is that controls closing. Once that is gone from the MLS, you're left with this, and you must use this. Also, for paragraph number 4, you can leave that blank. It says how long will it be effective. You're covered because it says it'll go automatically, the last sentence of paragraph 4, on either form, the forms are identical. The term will automatically extend through the date of the actual closing of the purchase agreement. So, as long as you have this signed, it'll last as long as the contract lasts. That date above is only important if you don't have a signed contract within 30 days, then you have to extend.
What
Yes.
about after 30 days?
After 30 days, do you have a signed contract or not?
If you don't have a signed contract, they put the.
Then you need to
listing agent go
extend.
directly to the buyer?
The listing agent, no, because you're also gonna have a buyer written representation agreement that says the buyer
document that
is
is
the
not
deal.
right. Ah, okay.
If there is a contract, you don't have to extend. Yes.
I'm the listing agent, broker A, broker B signs one of these with me,
Uh-huh.
so it's good for 30 days.
If you don't have a signed contract, yes.
Day 20, broker C comes with a new one for the same client. Who collects?
Okay, so there's an issue there.
Happens all the time.
You have to
It
know
does
everything,
happen.
right?
Technically, the listing agent should say something to both agents. Hi, I already have a contract from agent number 1. You might want to speak to your buyer and work that out. There's no legal obligation there, but there's an issue now for procuring cause.
I can
Buyer.
get claims. I can get to
So that's why I recommend saying something. Just don't be like, I don't care. I'm gonna go to closing and I'm gonna get paid and I don't want to worry about it. You're gonna get dragged into something that you shouldn't necessarily want to get dragged into. So it's better upfront to be transparent and say, well, actually, I got a contract from this buyer from a different agent. You might want to contact your buyer.
But this is good only for 30 days. After 30
If the contract is not signed, yes.
Okay.
Yes, if the contract is signed, it'll last as long as the contract lasts.
What if you send the listing agent in contract with this buyer and then the buyer changes his mind and wants to work with another agent?
It depends what the buyer's written representation agreement says. There's gonna be a form,
Agreement, right?
yes.
Because at this moment, procuring costs goes like in a term. There is no term because there is no agreement. So I can be procuring costs in 6 months. Now it's only 30 days. So buyer's agents will be.
Well, this agreement regarding compensation will only last 30 days. So this allows the seller to either maybe increase their commission if they're not getting enough showings or decrease it depending, but this signed agreement by the brokers will only last 30 days if a contract is not signed, based on the terms of this agreement.
But you can modify it, I see.
You can modify, that's correct. On Form Simplicity, there is a modification agreement to this compensation agreement.
To extend it,
To extend or do whatever you need to do to it. I didn't want to print those forms because it's going to be too much for you guys, but you can modify this agreement, yes.
And so this is what we give our sellers when they modify our current listing agreement,
No,
which
no,
we
no.
have to do.
This is a compensation agreement between the brokers and/or the buyer's broker and directly with the seller.
I think
Yes, it's seller to buyer broker. Seller needs to sign.
Yeah. No, seller to buyer's broker regarding compensation. This isn't a listing agreement. A listing agreement is something different.
When I do we have to modify our listing agreements, as of August, whatever?
Come August 17, the contract's gonna change. There's gonna be a new buyer broker agreement. Listing agreements are going to need to be modified. There's gonna be.
That's when I give them this and I say, oh, you're offering 3% to the buyer's broker. We now have to put it on this because on the listing agreement.
No. So this agreement is only
Yes, this is only.
between the brokers, right, regarding commissions, because commissions are not gonna be on the MLS.
I don't have seller's broker one. I only have
Okay.
seller to buyer.
So there's two forms. You're gonna
That's
use
right.
that form when there's no agent, if it's a for sale by owner, or if they're using a company that does just listings for $500, or if the seller's relatives with the agent and they're not accepting or giving commission.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yes.
So it's between the brokers because you need something in writing to tell the title company what we should put on the HUD. Because it's not gonna be on the contract, it's not gonna be on the MLS, so where is it gonna be? It has to be somewhere. So NAR and the Florida Association of Realtors prepared this form. That's pretty much an overview of the entire situation. Does that make sense? Karen, do you?
Yes, I
Get it
just
now?
need a copy of that seller's broker. I guess I'll look for it. It's online.
We have copies. Cindy can get you copies.
so somewhere they should actually put some sort of disclaimer, law protection period. That somebody that doesn't disclose a name might not be necessarily protected. Because then brokers.
This form is not gonna be changed. This is it.
Right, this is it.
So basically, we're not protected with this stupid law. We have to work very hard.
Well, this is gonna protect you, right? You're gonna have something signed by the
No, but you know,
broker.
the seller, the listing agent, it's gonna bring, it's gonna have a lot of buyer agents and everybody's gonna have with this. And he's gonna say, okay, this one, who are you? Which, it's gonna be confusing. We're gonna lose business like this. And we have to be organized. We are, but the seller or the seller's agent has to be organized. To remember me or to remember you, so they. And you better have your papers to show.
Yeah.
So you can be confident.
Get organized.
The only thing about.
Don't be lazy.
Don't sign anything, so he's gonna go to another agent, and another agent will tell him the
That's
same
another
procedure.
problem.
So they're gonna go to another one, they're
Or they
gonna
go
say
to
the
the
same, so,
meeting.
yeah, buyers will have to be more organized too, so they're gonna save your time also. Why would you wanna deal with someone who wants to have like 100 agents, even for the showing,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, or you can start getting retainer fee from them, even for the showings. If they give you like upfront and sign, for example, $1,000 for the showings, they may go with
They
you,
will not do
right?
it. You know why? Because
We'll try
you're
it.
gonna charge 1,000, the other one says 900, the other one says 500, the other one says, I'm gonna show you for free.
Yes. That's what happened.
Yeah.
What's the point to show for free? What for?
It was, because, the person, no, because they
Because a lot of agents are afraid to ask for money, believe me.
They want a big money, they want money from the sale. But what I can recommend, if I may, like, if we all gonna do this, and we're
I
gonna
agree
do
with
each
you.
other, we're gonna give this money back to you at the
At
closing.
the closing, yeah.
This is just a deposit for me to be dedicated to you.
Retainer agreements. There's a form for that.
At the closing.
There's a form for that.
Me
It's
too.
on Form Simplicity.
No, because.
Dot loop or something?
10 other people.
Look at that, Luke.
I don't know how
Do you
to.
understand the basic can't even stand, we have the same system. I had a client from New York, and I know her for years, she's like, well, can you find me something for rent and the furlough and other stuff? And I said, this and this available. And I purposely told her about the property that just came on the market the same day. I said, this apartment just came in, and this is a rental, right? Which is, very small commission to be made. And she said, oh, I already know about this property. I said, how do you know?
Because she went to.
I spoke to another broker, she already made an arrangement for me to see it. So I said, why are you calling me? We have the same system. Go to that broker and go sit with her. This is disrespectful. You do not treat. Why do you think we have nothing to do? We have families. We have, we have to spend gas, money, and this and that.
Yes.
And another came.
You have
to
great
me
New York
yesterday.
stories.
Oh, help me, this and that. I'm sitting here in the, El Tropico yesterday talking to her, because I always like to interview my clients to see what they need, how they need, and I want them to waste my time. I'm also a CPA, so I'm looking at all the financials, if they even qualify, you know what I mean? So, and she's like, oh, but I'm already working with this and this, with this agent. I said, how long are you working? For 3 months. I said, seriously? I said, why don't you go back to your agent and see if she can find it to you. If you are not happy, come back to me. But at least give her a chance. Did she even show something to you? Not yet. I said, listen, she's been working with you for 3 months. That's not nice. You know what I mean? She said, no, I understand. I said, listen, you're wasting everybody's time. I mean, I can help you, yes, but first of all, she does not qualify. She has no income here. I said, I suggest that you stay here for longer, work, show high
Right.
income.
Regarding
And then-
leases, this lawsuit and these forms right now are only about purchases. So it doesn't affect leases. However, no.
No.
However, there are lawsuits that are in the process now regarding suing for leases.
Oh, no.
So you have this one here, you're gonna have some coming behind it. So in the future, most likely there'll be agreements for listing.
The-
Right now, this just is for sales.
On MLS, the compensation?
Yes.
And then.
Are there offers of compensation on
Yes.
MLS releases? Yes.
Okay.
I was gonna say the same. This isn't about leases, it's only about sales and purchases.
Yeah, but how
So
about
business
leases?
as usual.
It's not gonna be listed on MLS either, right? Leases.
It is, yes, this is only for sales,
Oh,
this
so
lawsuit,
leases are gonna be listed
For now.
for now, until future.
And John, house has to be like reflected in case, like, if I'm asking my buyer to compensate me, right, so certain amount, and then the listing agent offers me another, like, piece of cake.
Yeah.
So house has to be disclosed on the both sides.
Okay, good point. So in the future, there's gonna be buyer broker agreements, and it's gonna say, they haven't told us yet, but most likely, if the seller doesn't pay a offer of compensation, you're gonna pay me 3%. If the seller offers 2, you're gonna cover that 1%. If it says, I'll pay you 3%, but then you find out that the seller's also offering 3%, you're not getting 6%, you're getting 3% from the seller.
So you cannot get, more than your buyer agreed to pay, right?
That's correct.
Listing
You
agent
cannot
gets
double dip.
6%.
Listing,
It's, you're talking about the 6%, but if you collected the 3% from buyer. So what happened with the 6% the seller was agreed to pay?
you can only get 3%
Okay.
total.
But a listing agent cannot get all the 6%?
No,
Because he did the listing agreement to get the 6%.
If you have a listing agreement with the seller, she's talking about the buyer.
I'm talking about buyers. So
I
if I ask the
understand.
buyer to pay me 3%,
Okay, I understand that point. But what about one seller is being agreed to pay 6%? I know that she's gonna get only the 3% because she had the buyer's agreement.
then buyer won't pay anything.
It depends what's on the listing agreement. Do you have that second section that says offer 3, 3, and 3?
Uh-huh.
Or is it blank? And you're just taking 6% total commission? Depends what the listing agreement
If
is.
it's a total, 6%.
If it says you're sharing, you have to share. If it says you're not sharing, you're gonna collect the full 6%, that's okay.
But how you have to share if you just said that if the buyer pay you 3%, we cannot get another 3%?
If you have a buyer broker agreement that says, I will pay you 3% if you don't get paid by the seller.
If.
Yeah.
Yeah, but whenever the buyer signs it, the buyers are very educated right now. Okay?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where they're from Russia, Venezuela, Japan, or whatever. They all know Zillow, they all know how to find the property. They can go on MLS, it's all public information. So they can just go in and find the seller. They will never sign Nobody signs in New York, none of my agents.
Never say never.
Direct to the seller?
They will just bypass the agent and go straight to the seller.
What's their?
Potentially, maybe.
Yes,
But-
that will happen.
That's happening now, right? So don't scare yourselves. Business as usual. Don't scare yourself. You're gonna scare yourself out of the industry.
And your negotiating skills, and I have a sheet of 90 reasons why a buyer should work with you, and I will send that to each of you. You must.
But I had an incident, they went directly to the seller, and I said,
Yeah.
are you kidding me, I was working with you for 6 months.
That's why the buyer broker agreements are gonna be important.
$1,500 to shut me up, he went directly to the lawyer that I introduced him at one point, and they made a deal.
Oh,
And I told the lawyer, listen, I send you a referral, can you do something with me? Did like this,
I have a question. So if, forgot what I was gonna ask, sorry.
There's a lot going on. I get it. But just know, August 17th, you have to get this form signed, and the brokers will either sign it or you as agents will sign it. That's basic.
So if I have a client and I sign for 3% with my buyer, right? The
You have a
compensation.
buyer broker agreement that they'll pay you 3%,
3%.
okay?
I found the property, but they only pay 2%. So the buyer need to compensate 1%.
Correct.
But what if I know they don't have the money, they put in everything they have in the down payment and closing costs, can I waive that 1% and give them a discount, like, listen, I don't want that 1%
Yes,
compensation from you, cause I know you put in everything you have, I'll just take whatever the seller's offering.
yes.
So it's possible, okay.
Any
Everything
information,
is negotiable. Remember that was the whole reason for the lawsuit. Commissions are negotiable on both sides.
with the, loaner, with the mortgage, do the mortgage say anything about pay the commissions or something?
Yes, good point. So lenders will not allow payments directly to brokers, but they will allow concessions or credits from sellers to buyer. So it's kind of a circular thing, but if the buyer says, I have to pay that commission, the lender won't pay it, but the lender will accept the credit from the seller to compensate for that buyer
Let me just
commission.
tell the buyer that, let's say the offer is 500,000. We can just say, listen, we want you to sign, if there's no commission for us. We can just say, listen, we want you to sign, the buyer's broker agreement with us for 3% commission. And you'll get a credit from the seller and in terms of the seller's concession at closing.
Yes,
Okay,
and if the lender.
but that would be easy for us to get the agreement signed because this is win-win
I didn't get it,
situation.
how they gonna send the credit from the lender?
So at the closing, so let's say they
You
give
put
you
the
an offer
credit
of
to the
500,000, so they're gonna get a credit because they're gonna say, listen, I don't have enough money for the down payment. I can't give you 3%, I only have 20% over the down payment. This way I don't have to pay the PMI, private mortgage insurance, right? So I only have 20%, and I have more, I'm sorry, I can't pay your commission. You can just say, listen, I had an arranged with the seller's broker, so the seller can give you concession at the closing for the 3% commission. So this way it doesn't come out of your pocket, it's already included in the price. That's what I've been doing in New York.
that's correct.
That's smart.
Can you just clarify about the concession? You said lender will accept the buyer as a concession?
Seller gives a concession to the buyer. It's also called a credit, right?
Yes.
Thank you, I love you.
So,
Okay, I understand.
yeah, okay.
But I'm
So seller gives a concession to buyer of 3% towards commission, let's say. And lender will take.
Toward, you're supposed to say, actually, it's just supposed to say a seller credit.
Seller credit only.
Yeah, you don't have to be too specific.
Can I do that on the MLS?
Я не поняла, but why would seller?
Seller credit? It's a concession, it's not.
You just say seller credits, yes.
Seller credit 3%, et cetera, et cetera.
Just be careful, but you can easily do that by phone, by email, by text. Yeah, just be careful, you're in that gray area. Okay,
Question.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah, for this question. Questions. Can I speak, please? For the listing that we already have, and it will expire after August 17. Will expire after August 17. Do we need to put in place this?
After August 17th, these will be in place, yes.
I mean, it already exists and it will expire in December.
There's gonna be an amendment to listing agreements that they're gonna have.
Or just, fill out this and
You can do this one too, yes.
Bueno, we finish everything.
All right, let's Cindy wrap this up, and then if you have other questions, you can let me know. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us today. And again, we're Florida Closing and Escrow. If you have any questions, you need any of the forms, you need any help with convincing your buyers, I have a form that has 90 reasons why clients should work with you. Please contact me, and we're here to assist you from contract to closing and to assist with your success. 786-457-6832, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting us.